Hello and welcome back to our lessons. In this video, I'm going to show you how to validate the email address of your subscriber. You may remember from the previous video that we built a strategy where we get first the email address of our subscriber, and then we are going to give the PDF upload where they can download it using the file element. But there is a loophole on this strategy, because on this strategy, whatever the user inputs here on the user input, there's no checking that would happen. We would always give the thank you message and the PDF file. So what if the user did not enter their email address and entered some random text instead? What would happen is they would still get the file that we have uploaded here. So we don't want that scenario because it defeats the purpose of our strategy, which is to get first the email of our subscriber before we give the free PDF download here. So how do we filter out the emails of our subscriber using the user input? Well, there is another element that handles that, and that is the condition element. So that is what we are going to tackle on this lesson. So we are first going to add a condition element between the user input and the thank you message here. So let's configure the connection here. So what we are going to do is we are establishing a new connection, drop it anywhere on the screen, and then let's choose condition. Once we do that, a new connection would appear and the previous connection would be disconnected. So here we have a condition. Let's rename this as, let's say, check if email. So we are going to check if the user has really provided their email or if it is a valid email address. So the way condition works is there would be a true node, which is this one, and there is a false node. So what would happen is if we check that the user email is valid, then we are going to send this true node. So if they gave a valid email address, we will send them this thank you message. So let's connect this on the true node. But what if the message that the subscriber gave is not a valid email address? In that case, we would connect this on the false node. Let's add it here and configure our text. Configure this, sorry, and then the first name. Let's say you did not provide a valid email address. And then please try again. Okay? So let's confirm this, and this would be our very simple validation. But wait, we haven't configured the condition element yet. As you can see here, there is an error. We need to configure this first. Click add condition here, and then let's choose any. If we set the condition to any, it means that even if only one of our condition gets true, then the whole value will return true. But if we set our condition to be all, it means that all the conditions we set must be true, and in any one of that condition does not resolve to true, then the whole condition would become false. So in this case, let's just use any. And as you can see here, there's a lot of condition types that we can use. But in this case, since we are going to check the value of the user input, then we need to choose custom variable here. So remember that we save the user input value into our opt-in email custom variable. That's why this is the value that we must choose, and we are going to click add condition. Now we have one condition already. So when configuring a condition, we can add multiple conditions here. If you want to add another condition, just choose another condition here, example, gender, and then click add condition. And in this case, you would have two conditions. So since we set our condition to any, it means that even if one of our condition is true, then it would return true. So if our opt-in email is an email, then it would return true even if the gender is not male. So, but if we set our condition to be all, it means that the opt-in email custom variable must be a valid email and the subscriber must also be a male because we set the condition to all. But yeah, on this example and on our strategy, we don't need multiple conditions. We only need one condition. That's why we are going to delete this condition. It's simple to delete. Just click the trash icon here and set our value to all. Anyway, if your condition is only one, you don't have multiple conditions, then any of the two would be okay. But if you set multiple conditions, then setting any of this would matter a lot. So again, in this case, we are just going to validate if the opt-in email custom variable is a valid email. So there are a lot of validators here. So example, if you want to check if this certain custom variable contains a word, then you can use contains here. So there's a lot of use cases here, but in this use case, we are just going to validate the email. This one does not require a value. Just choose the custom variable that you want to check and set the qualifier to be is valid email and then confirm the changes. So what would happen is, since our conditions check the value that the user provided here is a valid email address, if it returns to true, we are going to send here because the user set a valid email address. But if the user did not set a valid email address, we are going to send this one. Just make sure that the user input value here, which is opt-in email, is the same as the custom variable that we are going to check on our condition. So opt-in email is the one that we checked. So this is perfect. We can now save our custom variable. And after saving our custom variable, we are going to send a test. Remember that we provided a trigger keyword here. In this case, it is the word file. So we are going to use that. Type the word file to trigger our flow. Okay, so as you can see here, this is our test message. We are not going to provide a valid email address in this case. So let's just say this is not a valid email address. Okay, now let's check what would the output be. So as you can see, the condition element performed really well. The user did not receive the free PDF download that we have configured because the user did not provide a valid email address. The user received this message again. So now I want to teach you a best practice chatbot flow configuration wherein if ever the user did not provide a valid email address, our chatbot flow would prompt our user to try again. So how do we do that? So let's go back to our flow, and as you can see, this is our condition and we are sending this message if the user did not provide a valid email address. So instead of just sending this, what we're going to do is we are going to connect this, okay, the node, the output node of our text element, and we are going to reconnect that node from the very first step. Okay, so what would happen is if the user did not provide a valid email address, they would receive this. But since we configured a continue to next step, what would happen is the user would receive this and they would receive the first message also because they would be redirected to that flow. So this strategy is what we call cycle redirect, wherein we redirect the user back to where we started the flow. So let's save our flow and let's check how this works. Now that the flow has been saved, we can now go back to Messenger and trigger our flow again. So type file. All right, now we receive the flow now. Let's not provide a valid email address again. So let's just provide a random word. And as you can see here, we are redirected to the sorry message. And after that, we are prompted to try again. So as you can see here, this is the very start of the flow. So that is what we call cycle redirect message. So let's try to provide a valid email address by clicking on this. And as you can see, since we provided a valid email address, then we can now download this PDF file. There are cases where the user would provide a valid email address, but then they would add an extra text to their message. Example, hey dude, this is my email and it is valid. Check it out. And then the user types the email, johndoe@gmail.com. So would this be a valid message? All right, so as you can see, it is also accepted because even though the user have a lot of text here, what the system does is it will extract a valid email address from the message that the user has provided. As long as the user provides a valid email address, even if it is jumbled or in between the words, the system is able to extract the email address. Okay, so in this case, the whole message was saved on the user input, but do not worry, the email address will be saved if you want to send it to your CRM, or if you want to send this email to your email service provider, then only the email will be sent instead of the whole sentence. So it is okay. So that marks the end of this lesson. So in this video, we learn how to validate the input message of our user. So as you can see, we used the condition element to validate if the user has really provided a valid email address or not. And we have also learned to redirect the user back to where it started by using the message cycle redirect. So what we did is we simply connected the continue to next step node here to the very first part of our element, and that would trigger the flow again if ever the user did not provide a valid email address. And if the user provided the valid email address, we would send our thank you message together with the free PDF download. So we have learned what is the difference between any and the all of our condition configuration and how to add multiple conditions. And on this example, we learned how to validate a custom variable by using the custom variable options here. We are going to learn a lot more how to build a better chatbot flow on the following lesson.